Did you know that developing an autoimmune thriving mindset is contagious? And I'm hoping that after you watch this video, you catch it. I am hoping that after you watch this video, you learn how to develop an autoimmune thriving mindset for yourself instead of potentially a woe is me mentality. Stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to read to you a part of a chapter in this book, Resilience Redefined, Thriving with an Autoimmune Disease. Fun fact, I co-authored and published this book in 2023 with several other authors. When I was first diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, now 10 years ago, in December of 2014, I found this really cool clinic in Toronto. It actually no longer exists, but it was called Soul 7. It has made a lasting impression on me. The owner and founder, the late Bob Berman, who also is no longer with us, gifted me with the most amazing gift early on in my journey, and that was the gift of belief. In one of my first appointments, he looked at me and he said, "You are going to heal yourself." I said, of course I am. Why would I not? He just installed that belief in me, gifted me with that positive mindset, and it has stuck with me ever since. The other thing I want to talk about when it comes to an autoimmune thriving mindset is how you perceive yourself. In my MS diagnosis video, I share, if you haven't watched it yet, I'll link it here, but I share that I spent the night on a hospital gurney in the middle of a hallway outside the nurse's station after hearing that I potentially had MS, but it wasn't confirmed. They had to wait until I got another MRI in the morning with contrast dye. But from the time that I met with an internist that night to the next morning, I had all of this time to research things on my phone. And of course, I turned to social media. And one of the things that I found was that there was two types of people living with MS. I discovered the woe is me crowd, as I like to call them, talking about their hardships, complaining, and just generally feeling hopeless. Like I got a sense of hopelessness from them. And there is a time and a place, like there are all moments in our lives where we struggle with frustration, maybe frustration around having this disease, frustration around having symptoms or disabilities. So there's a time and a place, and I noticed it was the only thing that they were sharing. I then discovered this other crowd that I like to call the #MS Warrior crowd. And this was the crowd that was talking about how they were not going to let this disease get the best of them. They were going to take this challenge head on, figure out how to live with it so that they could live a great quality of life. So that night in the hospital bed, I vowed to become a part of the MS Warrior crowd. Over the years, that hashtag or that label has actually not felt like it suited me anymore because I have chosen not to battle against MS, and I don't feel like this is a battle in my body. I have learned to see MS as my health sidekick, simply there to remind me that I get the chance to take care of myself in a different way than most people on a daily basis. So because of that, I moved from #MS Warrior to #MS Thriver, and that has just felt better for me over the years. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you are facing an autoimmune diagnosis of any type, and you need a cheerleader, if you need someone to gift you with positive belief, let me be that person for you. So drop something in the comments below, and I promise to reply to every single one. While you're here, if you haven't had a chance yet, would you like this video so more people that are looking for this content will be able to discover it? All right, so I promised that I would read a chapter from the book Resilience Redefined, Thriving with an Autoimmune Disease. In 2023, I decided to publish this book because I had a craving to write another book. I actually wrote a book and published it in 2016 called Love Lost, Life Found. I called off a wedding back in 2012 now, left a very toxic relationship and discovered a life that I love, but that is for another video. But I had this craving to write another book, but I didn't want to make it all about me. The last book was about my life and how I have developed a life that I love. So this time what I wanted to do was co-author this book. I asked a bunch of other authors if they would participate and write a chapter each. So the book includes their diagnosis story and how they take care of themselves, and then the mindset around why they have chosen to take care of themselves the way that they have. So everyone wrote their chapter. I took care of publishing, and now it's out in the world. You can find it on Amazon. So here is the excerpt from my chapter. When diagnosed with a disease, instead of thinking to ourselves as living with MS, we might take on an identity associated with the disease, such as MS warrior, MSer, MS advocate, MS fighter, or MS survivor. Hell, I've used them myself. I even use MS thriver or autoimmune thriver to ensure that I'm having a positive identity birth after my diagnosis. But because my life seemed consumed with living with MS when I was first diagnosed, I really didn't want to lose myself in the disease. So I decided to perceive MS not as something to fight against or a persona to take on, but rather as an unconventional type of sidekick. In many cases, a sidekick is there to support the hero, watch their back, keep them honest, and so on. I see my health sidekick as an unexpected hitchhiker that you pick up for a long road trip across the country. By the way, I've never picked up a hitchhiker, so I have no idea why I used that analogy, but it seemed fitting. So an unexpected hitchhiker that you pick up for a long road trip across the country. That sidekick might not always be supportive. They might require you to adapt and grow. They might teach you patience. They might remind you that you haven't been on top of your self-care as well as you could be. Becoming highly attuned to my body through self-awareness and self-compassion is what my health sidekick has taught me. Calling it a sidekick was imperative for me to stop viewing myself as someone with a disease and rather as someone who simply lives well because her sidekick reminds her that she gets to take care of herself. Or he. So that is it. It is now up to you. What mindset are you going to develop when you are faced with an autoimmune diagnosis? Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to subscribe. I post videos every Tuesday, so hopefully I will see you in the next one. By the way, I've never picked up a hitch. By the way, I've never picked